Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial on Build and Execute C program on Linux platform. I'm Vishwakiran, working in the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning at BMS ITNM. So the objective of this session is to introduce the participants to operating system and basic commands related to uh, Build and Execute C program on Linux platform. Okay, finally, I will introduce the participants to the compilation process, that is how .c file gets converted into executable file. So now we move on to operating system. So now let's understand the role of operating system in a computer system. So why do we need an operating system in a computer system? So the role of operating system is analogous to government in our society. So if I ask you this question, okay, why do you need government in our society? So what could be your answer? So the role of government is to manage resources that are available in our society. So if there was no government, people would have fought for these resources, right? So on the other side, we have operating system which manages system resources like CPU, memory, files, devices. Okay, next. So how we can define operating system? So we can define operating system as a resource manager. Another standard definition what you could see in a book. So it's an interface between user and resources. So we have different types of operating system or categories of operating system. For example, Unix, GNU Linux, Windows X, Windows 8, 10, 7, the Macintosh. So these are all real-time operating system, VxWorks, PSOS, QNX, RTLNX, Nucleus. These real-time operating systems are used to develop time-critical applications or real-time systems. And these are the mobile operating system. Android is one of the popular mobile OS. iOS used by Apple for their iPhone and iPad. So on. So the Migo, Tizen, they are based on Linux kernel. Okay. So let us understand the system structure. So before we get into the programming, so we have users who are going to run applications. So applications needs system resources, right? The hardware. When I say hardware, it could be a monitor or a keyboard, hard disk. So various devices that are available in a computer system. As we know, like application directly cannot access the hardware. Okay. So hence we need an intermediate software between hardware and application. So which is that software? With this, that's nothing but kernel. So kernel acts as an interface between application and hardware. So any resource that I need to access that resource through kernel, right? So how do I make a request to kernel to utilize the resources? So we need to have some user interfaces. It could be in terms of graphical user interface or command line interface. So shell is one such interface which provides a platform for applications to utilize the facilities that are available in a computer system by running commands. Hence, what we need to understand, applications or users are not allowed to directly use the resources. This is illegal. Okay. So, hence, applications or users need to access the resources through shell. Okay. So, they interact with shell by running some commands that in turn talks to kernel. Kernel talks to hardware line. So, this is the value line. So, this is legal and this is illegal. So one needs to understand the role of kernel, shell, applications, users, hardware in a computer system. So quickly I'll revise. So kernel acts as an interface between hardware and applications or users. Shell acts as an interface between application and kernel. See, Shell supports various commands. So by using those commands, user can utilize the facilities or resources that are managed by kernel. Okay. Now next we move on to the practical aspect of this shell commands. So I'll be using Ubuntu OS for demonstration purpose. So I've logged in to the system by using my login credentials. So once we log in, we can see various application launcher here. So either we can launch this terminal or we can search by typing the name, say terminal. Okay. So you can see this terminal is listed here. Okay. So the prompt what we see here, the dollar prompt is nothing but the shell prompt. Okay. So where we can execute the commands. So this is the interface which I've discussed in this slide, the shell. So the shell which acts as an interface between application kernel is nothing but here the shell prompt. So once you log into a system and open a shell, you can get to know where you are in this directory structure or file structure. We can also get to know the list of files and directories that are available for this user. So I've logged in as a user VK. So this is the home directory of VK user. So you can see like various folders like backup, PMSC, Cisco, BMS IT, course. These are the various folders that is created by this user. Okay. So when we open a terminal, that is a shell prompt, we can also list all these folders by using a command ls. So ls command will also list all these folders what you are seeing in this GUI. So this is graphical user interface and this shell is command line interface. Okay. So I can create a folder in this uh, home directory, like home directory of that user by right clicking here like the new folder, or else I can also create the folder by using a command. So let me create a folder by using a command mkdir lab1. Okay. So you could see that there is no folder with the name lab1. Once I execute this command mkdir lab1, that folder gets created here. So, so you can see this that folder created here, and in command prompt I can enter into this folder by using a command called cd lab1 cd lab1. So currently, okay, before we move to the lab1, let me show you where we are in this file structure. Pwd is a command used to print the working directory, or it shows us the current working directory. So right now I am on this folder /home/vk. So all these folders is under vk folder. So vk is also one folder, home is also folder, and the forward slash is the starting point of the file system. Okay, so here, I, so Linux follows inverted tree structure. Okay, so all file system, in the case of file system, all files are stored in the form of tree structure. Okay, so each folder can be considered as node. The files can be considered as leaves or fruits of a tree. Now let's enter into this folder lab1 by using a command cd. So as cd stands for change directory, cd lab1. Okay. So since this lab1 is in the current directory, I can simply say cd lab1. Okay. Otherwise, so this is known as a relative path name. So path name can be specified Okay, let me tell you this. The address of a file is identified through something known as path name. It's of two types: relative path name and absolute path name. So what is relative path name? Specifying the file name with respect to current or present working directory. Okay. So absolute path name specifying the file name, starting from the root directory. So which is the root directory? So root directory is represented through / in the case of Linux. Okay. So we need to understand two ways of identifying a file, either through relative path name or absolute path name. Let me show the both. So relative path name of this lab1 is cd lab1. So I can enter into this lab1 directory by using this cd command. Now I've entered in this folder lab1. So if I list the files that are in this lab1, it would be empty because it's a newly created folder which does not have any content. So I can also cross check using this GUI. You can see this. So there are no files or folders in this lab1 directory. Okay. So if I want to go back to the previous folder, okay, so I want to go back to that VK folder itself, then I need to type cd dot dot. Dot dot will take me one step back. Okay. So before that, let me show currently where we are. So when I type pwd, you can see this, the current working directory or present working directory /home/vk lab1. Lab1 is a folder which is inside another folder called vk. Vk is another inside a folder called home. So this / is the starting point of the file system hierarchy. Okay. Now, if I want to go back one step, okay, I need to type cd dot dot, which will take me back to /home/vk. So if you want to enter into this folder lab1, I can use absolute path name. How to specify the absolute path name? So cd, I should give an argument. This called argument /home/vk/lab1. So if I give some other name like lab2, it says no such file or directory because inside vk folder there is no folder with the name lab2. Okay, that's why we're getting that error. So if I give this lab1, so there won't be any error. Okay. So if there is no message, it's a good news for the programmer. Okay. So in Linux, it follows a principle. No news is a good news for us. If it displays some messages, it means there's some error. No message, it means no error. Okay. So we can clear the screen by using a command, clear command. Okay. So you can observe in this GUI, the lab1 folder does not have any files. Let me show how to create few files using a command prompt. One can use a touch command to create files, like file name. I need to give a file name file.c, touch file.c. Once I hit an enter key here, at the background you can observe a file will get created, and you can see in the GUI. Okay. So you can see here f.c file is created. So similarly, I can create different types of files, say index.html. You can see here that HTML file is created. Similarly, if you have some other extensions like book.pdf, I want to create a PDF file, just I can see, but I need to use the corresponding application to open those respective files. So I can see here book.pdf. So this is how I can create various files. These are all regular files or regular files which can be created using a command touch. Okay. So the ordinary files are regular files. Okay. So now we are interested with the C program, file.c. Uh, Let me open this file for editing purpose. I can open this file using different ways. Okay, so one is like I can use a editor called VI, a Vim editor, or Emacs editor. There are various editors which can be used to write C program. So since it's a beginner course, I will introduce you to how to use a gedit. So easy for the beginners. Whereas the other editors like VI, Vim, Emacs, you need to know various commands to use those editors. Okay. Here, gedit is similar to a notepad in the Windows. So how do we open this newly created file, file.c? So type a command gedit and we need to give that file.c. Okay. So let me show, okay, before I open this file, file.c, let me list the files that are created. So see all these three files which are seeing in the background, in the GUI, you can see here book.pdf, file.c, index.html. So whenever I say vi file.c, sorry, I'm not going to use vi, and let me use gedit. Gedit. So this is the command which will look for the file file.c which in the current directory. So current directory is that lab1. So if I give some other file name, file new file 2.c, okay, so it opens a new file in that directory, like, okay, so you should remember, okay, so I don't want to open a new file, I want to open say existing file. You can open a new file also, otherwise you can open existing file. So let me close without saving it. Okay. So gedit file .c open. So once I open a file, I can type a C program, a first C program that we are writing in the Linux platform. So we are done with writing our first C program on the Linux platform here. So we need to save it. And once I save this file, I can close this. So you just observe the file name file.c. Okay. So when you open a file, you can terminate that gedit by using Control C. We'll get back the shell prompt and you can see here. So file.c is here. Okay, so let me show the content of file.c. What is this? How do I see the content of file.c in the command prompt? File.cat file.c. So it's going to list the content of this file. So this is what we edited in this file called file.c. This is the content of file.c. In the command prompt you can edit, or else I can open this file.c using gedit. Okay, open with gedit. So it gets opened like this. So either way you can open, either using GUI or in the command prompt. You can see that's content. As we know, like it's a source file which cannot be executed because CPU cannot understand the .c file or the program which is written in the high level language, which needs to be converted to machine language. So how do we do that? Okay. So very simple command. First step is GCC GNU compiler collection. GCC stands for GNU compiler collection or GNU compiler collection. GCC followed by file.c. And you can observe there is no file with the name eratout in the current directory. Okay, so let me open the GUI also at the background. So you can see this. So book.pdf file.c index.html is there, but there is no file with the name eratout. So once this compilation process over, you can see at the background a file with the name eratout will get created. Okay. So there is no error, hence we did not get any message, and we can see that the background eratout, a file with the name eratout is created. Okay, let me cross check in the command prompt as well. So you can see this eratout, right? So if I, how do I execute that eratout executable file? So if I try using this, running this, we get an error saying that eratout command not found. So whenever you try to run a command, okay, so it looks for that command in some specific folders, okay, where all executable files are stored. Okay, shell will look for that command in a specific folder, okay, like slash bin slash usr bin. Since our eratout is not in those folders, we are getting this error. Okay, so we need to tell that shell so where this file is located. So there are different ways I can do it. As I mentioned, we can specify it in two ways, the file name. One is absolute path name and relative path name. Let me show both the case. First, I will show you the absolute path name. So let us run the program by using absolute path name. So slash home slash vk slash lab1 slash eratout. Okay, so this. So now it's getting executed. Okay. Next, how do I execute the program using a relative path name, which is simpler? Dot slash. Dot slash represent the current directory. So you can run the program by using dot slash eratout. So now we are telling the shell, look for this eratout in the current directory. Okay, let me execute this. Okay, hello Linux. So this is how you can build and execute your C programs on a Linux platform. Okay, so the next part, okay, I will tell you like how this hello.c will get converted to eratout. Let me show the compilation process or a build process. So let me explain the build process, that is also known as compilation process, how your .c file gets converted to executable file, that is eratout. Okay. So when we say gcc hello.c, so GNU compiler collection will call first the preprocessor. So this is a program which generates hello.i. So it generates an intermediate file. So what is the difference between .c and .i? So preprocessor mainly does four tasks. The first one, it removes the comments. So we would have written various comments in our program. So all those comments would be removed by preprocessor, and it includes, second one, it includes the header file content. So if you have written hash include stdio.h, the content of stdio.h would be added to this hello.i, like, so it's going to expand that. And if you have written some macros, it gets replaced, and it also helps in conditional compilation. So it performs four tasks: removing comments, including the header file content, replacing the macros, then conditional compilation. So once the preprocessor is successful, it generates hello.i, which will be given as the input to the next stage called C compiler. So the actual compilation will take place here. This C compiler is going to check the syntax, and if everything goes fine, then if syntactically if the program is written correctly, then it's going to generate assembly code for this hello.i. So hello.s would be generated. Hello.s would be in, so the content of hello.s, if you see, it contains the assembly instructions in terms of mnemonics. So that's the output generated by C compiler. The output of C compiler would be given to assembler. So what assembler generates? Assembler generates object files. So it generates object files. So it's like in terms of zeros and ones, opcodes. So it's going to generate opcode for the assembly instructions that is generated in hello.s. And finally, that hello.o will be given as input to linker. So linker is the one finally links various libraries that you would have used in your program. Or if you have multiple object files, all those multiple object files would be combined together to form single executable file. Okay. So this is these are the various steps that takes place whenever you say GCC hello.c. For us, it looks like a single step. So internally, various steps are going to be followed to generate error out. But as a user of a system or a programmer, you can stop at different stages. Okay, let me show a few of these files, hello.c and hello.o, how it generated, or how to generate hello.i also, like. Okay, so if you want to generate intermediate files, you can use something like this: gcc -e file.c. By default, okay, so the output would be displayed onto the screen. The output of preprocessor. You want to get the output of preprocessor, you can do like this: gcc-e file.c. So you can see it is displaying output onto the screen. So that line hash include std.h is replaced by these lines. Okay, so these are the contents of the header file stdio.h. But if you need that file.i, what we can do is we can redirect the output to another file, like this file.i. So what will happen, instead of displaying the output on the screen, the output will be redirected to this file.i. You can see this file.i is generated. We can in fact open and see this file.i. So these are the contents of header file stdio.h. So at last we can see our main function, what we have defined. So above this code, whatever that we see here, these are all the contents of the header file. Next. So after that, okay, so that gcc file.c, if I give for file.i as input to gcc, now it will not call the preprocessor. Instead, it calls the compiler. Okay. So in fact, I can stop after compilation by using option hyphen yes. It's uppercase yes. Once I do this, file.gcc-s file.i, you can see file.s is generated. Okay, let me show you the content of file.s. So it's going to contain assembly instruction. You can see this: call, push, move, pop. So these are all the various assembly instructions generated for our C program. Okay. Or you can also display by using cat command file.s. Okay, here. So this is the contents of file.s assembly instructions. Right. Next, I can generate object files. GCC -c option I can use. Then I can give this file.s as an input. Now what this GCC will do, it's going to call directly assembler. Okay, after compilation process, assembly will happen. Assembly uh, instruction needs to be converted to what? Object code. So that is done by assembler. Now we can see here file.o gcc-c will generate. If you give this option -c, file.o would be generated, the object file. But we cannot see the content. We will not be able to understand by using this cat command similar to file.s. I will not be able to understand this code. The cat command is unable to read the content of this file.o. So to read the content, one should use this command obj dump-d file.o. So if you use this command obj dump-d file.o, you can disassemble and see this .o file. Okay, so you can see here. So these are all the assembly instruction and the corresponding object code or opcode you can see here. So these are the opcodes. 55 is the opcode for this push, 48 for move, BF for this instruction, here call, E8. So we can see the opcode and assembly instruction. And finally, okay, so last part here. So if you want give a name to an executable file by default, okay, last, okay, so let me show here file.o. If I do this gcc file.o, it generates error out here. You can see here the error out is generated. Let me delete this current error out. So you can see there's no error out here. If I say gcc file.o, error out would be generated. Okay, and we can execute this error out by using /error out. Okay, otherwise you can give an executable file name instead of generating a file name with the name error out. What we can do is gcc file.o -o. -o stands for that output file. I can specify the output file, my file. Let me give the output file name as my file. And once we do this, gcc file.o -o my file. It would have generated a file with the name my file, which is an executable file. So /my file, and I'll get the same output. Now both error out also gives the same output, and /my file will also give the same output. Yeah. So hope you understood, okay, the various topics related to operating system and how to build and execute a C program on the Linux platform. Thanks for watching.